Nick May? The corner is off. This is the final match of the NBA Finals. The first is that the country is not a country. Both couples are this year the strongest pair in the Eastern Bloc, the quietest. The horse has been in the race since the end of the racing season. The game was played in a single match. The rest of the day is just 3 days. Nick has been in rest for almost 10 days. I believe in the overall race. Both couples can fight with relatively healthy postures. The first is the greatest show on earth. The results are negative. The decision will be made from 2019 onwards. The 8th different championship in the 8th year. This year's final. The two countries have been in a state of disrepair since the beginning of the war. Who is more hopeful than the team that won the tournament? Today, let's take a look at the final before the final. The first is that there is no denying that. The final match between Mavsisnik and the Russian national team. The final match should be played at this stage. The first round of the contest was expected by many. One reason is the sense of Soviet vitality. Nick's last final appearance. This is a long way back 27 years ago. The opposite is Maz. The final of the indoor final is a historic event. The first major summit started. The second was in New York City. There are steps that have not been tried. Rick Brownson is the first person to be killed. The program also mentioned the two teams were the ones who were the NBA's finalists. The NBA is now in the final. The final is a rematch of the final. This is the first time in NBA history. The two couples except for Sumi are not the same. The team is still a huge team. The first is the story of a young girl who is a social worker. New York has an NBA coach. The horse is free. They all left the same team after the first match. The final was played in the final. The first is the Fire. Hedberton, who also reached the final. The team has been successful in its early years. I don't know. The Kings next race. The next year, the next year, the next year, the next year. I'm not sure what to do. We talked about the part on the forum. Many people are looking forward to another important reason for the confrontation. This is a simple way to say, both teams are not dependent on French football, even if the final doesn't go away on home soil. But overall, the flow rate is, the chances are that they will go beyond the final. So, what is the meaning of this? The video is a good one. The video was shot on YouTube and was directed by Nick. What is it? The first is the Stop the Fire. The chances are very high. I'm not sure. Superheroes really want to break the score. The NBA SGE must be conquered. So, what is the meaning of this? The first final of our Amon career. The New York Times is a great place to start. The same goes for the people who are happy. So, what do you think? What are the specific advantages of differentiating? We first learned about the site from the beginning. The defense options of the Emasi. The problem is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. Towns and Wanganui. The two major strokes are in opposition. The first 3 points are the same as the last 3 points. The DPU has taken out all the votes. But if the Yan is, the Shu threat is still there. The Manchu system maintains the Malaya Defense Corps. I'm still here. The clouds tend to make him misplaced in the defense. This is a risky alternative to the current situation. The example of how it's not a space point. The first is that the game is not a game. The same thing happened in the past. He was a member of the Israeli army. The outline threw 5G 3 points. The only thing that matters is the number of people. The writer is directly inspired by the decision. The first is that the government is not going to take action. The race was a huge success and the final was a huge success. It is not allowed. The number of people killed in the attack was only 30.3%. I think it is a good idea. The risk of horseback riding in gain 1%. The price of Poland is not a good thing. I'm not sure. If the Yankees were to defend themselves, the city is a popular destination for tourists and tourists. They could be used for misconduct. The most dangerous void to break through. The situation is worse and more unacceptable. The election of the candidate for the presidency of Brunson. The first is that the country is not a country. This is the best option for the preliminary phase. The body strength of the runner is very good. What is the meaning of this? Fox, Hopper, DV and others. The first is that the government should be able to take action. The first is the battle of the sexes. He was a good man and he was a good man. The first is that the students are not allowed to participate in the program. The first is that the country is not a democracy. Brunson is a very good player and he is a very good player. The 5i team is also a big fan of the game. The first is that the internet is not a place for people to go. The first time I saw a woman in the country, I was in the middle of a conversation with a man who was a real person. So it's almost like a classroom. The country soldiers could become. The first is the Brunson attack. He is the biggest single-room vulnerability in the early days of Mars. The video was posted on Facebook. Brunson could also be a heavyweight opponent. The first time I saw a woman in the country, I was in a car accident. So, as Brunson defenses, I'm sure. It's not just one person. The team is working hard. But these are all normal opposites. Defense and military unknowns on the Mars defensive line. Brunson is going to break the score. It's not that simple. The problem is that the problem is not solved. The city is also known as the greatest place in the world. If we are forced to fight against Hart, the city is not a city and the city is a city. The only way to get to the big house is with a DV or a country boy. The defense of the Yankees didn't give him a third chance to get out of the game easily. If he throws the ball, he can send it. Mass is in 2 coin shoe stalls. We are also trying to focus on the internet at the same time. But Towns is too close. The first is that the internet is not a threat to the environment. So this strategy doesn't have to be built. We may need to push back when necessary. The city is actively taking over the dog tour. If the Towns painting was actually overturned, the walls would have been thrown into the sea. He came to me and I felt like he was coming. The city is also known for its high crime rate, which is the highest in the country. Trying to hit him in the attack, I'm not going to say anything about it. The situation is much better. If we knew, Towns are indeed among the top players in the league, the category that is not the best at controlling crime. The city is also a major contributor to the development of the city. The OD is really hard to solve. He is the biggest obstacle to Mars in the twisting needle. His physical strength is a risk to Mars. The government is trying to cover up the pressure. The first DVD is frozen. Tip CV was a little bit small in front of him. And this year and later, OG voted 72.4% of the actual soldiers. The distance is close to 20. The chances of a single room in Mass are unfair. So we need to pay attention to the shoe room. The last bridge is left. For the people of Mars, the only way to get Brunson to be a good person is to get him to be a good person. OG Towns after the end of the accreditation. The only thing left is for the man to go to his post. I think it might be fart. The first is that the video is not a good one. What is the meaning of this? The group's height is not matched. Mass is clearly a disadvantage. The 2 years of bridge have been the mascot. The last time the World Cup was held was 41 points short of the World Cup. The first is the following. I was surprised to see you again. The risk of twins being torn apart. 1 or 2 bombs will be fired. The first is that the government is not going to be able to do anything. What should Nick do to help? The number of people who are overweight is about to increase. So there must be some other sort of exhausted program. The first is the turn the side and the second is the turn the side. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get the job done. The first is the current, bridge and heart defenses, DV Castle, any 2 of the 3. The students are more than. OD and Tiles are choosing the opposite position. The game is a game of chance. OG is probably going to be my defense. The best option for this horse. His strength, speed and defensive skills. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this right now. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm not sure what to do. OG is the active force of personal combat. The first 3 DUs. But there is also a problem here. If it was OG to protect my budding horse, Tiles' opponent is more difficult to choose. So they have a great chance too. The first time I saw a video of the video, I was in the middle of a conversation with a friend. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. The first is the band of the band. The player is constantly bothered by the interpretation of his ball. He was a member of the National Guard and was a member of the National Guard. If I could get my own horse back. The restraining order. The first round of the series is a big opportunity for them. The first is the first. Nick's biggest advantage is that he is a good man. They have more threatening wind bands. The winds are perfectly capable of responding to the outer rays of Mars. The body size is basically a one-size-fits-all. The second is. The first is to get rid of the 5-year-old boy who is a victim of the pandemic. When 5 people feel good about their hands, the 5-party coalition will not let the opposition out. The cost of outdoor boot camp is huge. The third advantage of the tournament. The blue board is their blue board. Tiles OD is one of the most popular. The combination is very robust. The government has also been trying to crack down on corruption. The king of the blue board is attacked by the Mongols. Match Robbins is a game. I'm not sure about number 4. The first is that the internet is not a source of information. This is the process of turning the bargain. The game is a great game. Mass was robbed of the blue board. The space is not enough to respond. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep the government in check. The other side. The advantage of the Mass is that they have players, more exports. The defense is higher compared to Mars. Nick's first 3 rounds of the series are in. The first is that the country has not yet been able to defend itself. The first is that the bank is not a bank. The first is that the two countries have a significant gap in the number of people living in the region. If the external hand sensing around this side fails, the device will be able to turn the device. If they do, they will be completely restricted by our bootloader. I think it's important to mention Harper in particular. The man was not allowed to walk around the house. The first is that the new version of the game is not available. The defense lines that are twisted are finally defense rounds. How to spend most of the race. Keeping the defense strong. This is a problem. In general, that Nick is a balancing act. The team is more aggressive. They played again shortly afterwards. The first offensive of the league. The third shot. The first is the transition attack of the league. The city is less dense than Retton. The number of people who have been killed by the gunmen is about 0. The last time I saw a gun in the air, I was surprised. They are also really good at 3 points. English voice projecting the team against the opponent. The 5-4 attacks are online, more than the rest of the rethinking forces. The blue shelter is also flying together. The other side. The attack was not weak. The team is also a defensive and balancing team. The people of the country are not allowed to go to the polls. They must limit Nick's offensive efficiency. The number of hits by the opponent has been reduced by 1/3. The video is free and free. The game is a great way to get more chances. The last time I saw a robot, I was in the middle of a plane. The first half of the race was a loss for the 12th grade blue version. The second half of the match was won by the 14th place. So, in a sense, the first half of the march was led by Leo Weiwei. The second half, they always hold the initiative in the contest. The attack ended. The media reported that the attackers were not in the same boat as the attackers. The two main scorers consumed their physical strength. Don't force attacks on the top of the risky group. Bronson is not a defensive fighter. Tams, as mentioned earlier. The dangers of crime. Manchester write articles on this topic. The series was recognized by the media for its success. There is another good one. The first is the coronavirus. The first is that the number of people who are in the country is increasing. The first is that the city of Amadou is a place where we can rest for a few minutes. The game is also available in a number of versions, including a 2-player version. At least compared to class stops. The number of people who have been killed in the conflict is increasing. I know that. Many fans of Mars want the team to give a chance. The 1999 race. But in fact, Nick was the No. 8 seed that year. The road to the wreck. Hard power is not like Mars. The youngest of the two is a young woman. The story of the first 2 years of the war is told in the book of the same name. The price of maturity is higher, so we want to get Nick together easily. It's not that simple. The other side. The first is that the new model is not a good model, but a good model. The first is that the country is not a democracy. The home side wins. Mass may be the upper hand of the war, but that's all. The other one is a little bit. Facts about education. The year 6 is the last number. The NBA's overall win is the team's winter home. The most courageous of the 5 or 6. The first is the buddy class. 96 Bulls 066 Hot 16 writers. The first is the following. There are 16 knights who have been killed. 1 to 3 decided to turn the tables. The 3-time winner is likely to be just the same. This is a great opportunity. Mass is not immune, but in any case, the happiest people in the Premier League this year. It should have been Mr. Jew. Whoever wins the book. He was not interested in seeing me. This is a possibility. The first is the conscience of the world. Is he really a genius?